Coming to you live from the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios, it's the Cigar Pulpit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, Nick, and today we're going to have a fun episode. So I recently just sat down with one of the co-owners of a cigar lounge, shop, bar, whatever you want to call it. We'll get into that, actually, in the interview. One of the co-owners of Blend and Barrel, and that's located in Sanford, Florida. And I'm going to be talking with Shiah Goldberg. And let me tell you guys, this guy, he's been in the industry for a while. He's worn a lot of hats, and he knows what he's talking about. And I sat down to do an interview with him with the thought that, we get to know about the place a little bit. We get to know about him a little bit. And before I knew it, 2 hours had gone by. So it's just kind of a little bit of a longer one, but truthfully, we get into everything in the episode. So anyway, buckle up, and I will see you on the other side of that. And guys, I'm joined by Shiah Goldberg of Blend and Barrel. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Nick.
Thank you for taking time today.
Absolutely. No, it's a pleasure to have you join us.
So I want to highlight the shop and the lounge, the bar, whatever. Are you a cigar shop, a cigar lounge, or a cigar bar?
Yes.
Okay. I like that answer because it seems like everybody kind of designates into different silos, but
my philosophy has always been, so most of my career I've been in the bar hospitality side of the cigar business when I was customer facing.
Okay.
And my philosophy has almost always been it's two businesses that exist in the same room.
Yeah.
So the humidor and the cigar side of the business and the bar side of the business, the customer experience, the service, the vision, everything should be kind of seamless.
Okay.
But I think cigar shop and cigar lounge and bar are all actually accurate.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. So we're going to highlight Blend and Barrel today. And we're also going to get to know you and your background because you've been in the cigar industry a lot longer than just this location. And I want to dive into that. But first, I want to have a cigar. Yeah. So what are we smoking here?
So this is our chairman line. You have our Gran Toro, okay, and I am going to be enjoying our Presidente.
Okay.
This is a cigar that we introduced just before PCA last year.
Okay.
It's everything in the cigar is at least 4, probably 5, but I always err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
At least 4 years old tobacco.
Okay.
It is designed to be our ultra premium, our luxury offering. And it's only available in 3 sizes. And we did a very limited initial run. We did a total of 275 boxes.
Okay.
So the chairman is intended to be a collection that we will grow. The idea behind it is we work with different cigar makers and we focus on their kind of signature flavor profile.
Okay.
But then an imagining of how that exists for this portfolio and brand.
Okay.
This is the first one. This is how we introduced it, which was the 250 boxes.
Okay.
And then we'll ramp production as we go on.
So could I ask what manufacturer you worked with for this one?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So this cigar was made in collaboration with Didier Vinney.
Okay.
And Tom, so our founder, Tom Darnell, my partner, he became a kind of immediate fan of the brand.
Okay.
They are also personal friends. And very specifically, Tom loves two cigars most from Didier's line, the Salomon, which is broadleaf, and the Eli, which is San Andres.
Okay.
So we use the San Andres wrapper in here.
Okay.
It is entirely our proprietary blend. It's from the ground up. We developed it with Didier, soup to nuts.
Okay.
But it is kind of following, as we mentioned with the brand concept, it is following that kind of symmetry where he predominantly uses Nicaraguan filler tobaccos, variety of wrappers, and Didier mostly does large ring gauges in his line.
Yes.
So this was something that we kind of introduced to him as a challenge.
Yeah.
But also something that we wanted to see kind of going in with that line. Like, we know what your point of entry is.
Okay.
Let's see if we can push it a little bit and something great will come of it.
Gotcha. Okay. And then the third Vitola for this was a Robusto as well.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Short Robusto.
Okay. Fantastic. Oh, we have drinks arriving. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the bar portion of the lounge is on exhibit now.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Najee.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Hotel Swizzle Cocktail.
Okay. Thank you so much. Looking forward to that. Well, let's get the cigar cut. And the official cutting is brought to you by 2guyscigars.com. That's the number 2guyscigars.com.
Two Guys have been around for 40 years, and they are the trusted name in the cigar industry. Everybody knows Two Guys, but if you don't, please give them a try. You won't be sorry. Family owned and operated, twoguyscigars.com does the very best to provide a great selection, fair prices, and excellent customer service. So head on over to twoguyscigars.com for your next cigar purchase. Tell them that the Cigar Pulpit sent you. And remember, that's the number 2guyscigars.com. And with that, it's time to go ahead and cut the cigar. So, you know Dave.
I do.
Yeah.
Big fan.
There you go.
Really appreciate what he's built, but also the insight and the intelligence that he provides to the industry. It's really nice to be able to tune into his podcast and get an understanding for where one of the best in our business kind of sees. I like his transparency. And he's a good dude. And he has good taste if he sponsored your podcast.
That's true. Well, thank you. Thank you. Does he, let me ask, as somebody who's been in the industry, how well is he on the old prediction show that he does?
I would say my general sense is I really appreciate when they share their insights.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, I'm naturally kind of reluctant to most of the quote unquote lists that come out. So I will admit I don't really pay super close attention, but I will say for the most part, when I see that group of guys, that crew make a kind of pointed statement, analysis, hypothesis about the future, I usually at least agree or see their perspective.
There you go.
What a political, diplomatic answer.
It was very diplomatic, but that's okay.
I'll make sure and only do it that one time and never again.
That's true, because Trey Mack, now, in all fairness, we met through Trey Mack Shipley, which I don't know if we should be admitting that or not, but, it's the fair, honest truth, so I figure why not? Most people don't like to admit that they know Trey Mack, but...
We have to give him at least that feather in the cap, right? That's how we met. It
true.
Seems to be working.
So far. So, Trey Mack did tell me you have many opinions on the industry and retail. And so he's like, he's a wealth of knowledge. You just got to get it out of him. And I'm like, okay. So we'll leave the diplomatic side at this point. Now we can go straight into the brutal honesty, if you want to do with that, So, all right. Blend and Barrel. How did this place come about?
Okay.
We'll start with all this.
Fun story. So I was running, I'll get to my background, or we'll get to my background, but I was running Empire Social in Miami, in Brickell. And Tom, who's now my partner, the founding owner here, he came to visit with one of our members. It was an afternoon, early in the afternoon, very quiet, and welcomed them into the space. We talked a little bit, and Tom had asked me several questions that led me to believe that he was interested in being in the business. So about 10 minutes into them sitting down, I just went over and handed him my business card and said, hey, wherever you're opening your cigar lounge, any questions that you have at all, please don't hesitate. Now that you're a friend of a member and a member of ours, but even if you weren't, I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, I just want to pull back that. Don't worry. You don't have to try and slide it by me. Just fire away. So that's how we met.
Okay.
But the vision of this in Blend and Barrel is quite interesting. So Tom is a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
He was an Army veteran, MP. Traveled both for his military career and also in business and personally. And like most people that we know who are either in this business or enjoy the business that travel, first thing you do when you get to a new location is find out where the cigar shop is.
For sure.
Right? So this is very much the vision of that self-made serial entrepreneur with having access to the cigar world from a consumer perspective, and then kind of taking everything that he liked about those places and putting it into one.
Okay.
It was opened on Veterans Day of 2019. So the military support and that is kind of interwoven into our vision as well.
Okay.
Tom also had a FFL license, has an FFL license. So we have kind of, if you'll see in some of our logos underneath, it says ATF.
Okay.
It's all those freedoms.
Okay.
So we incorporate the tobacco, the firearms, and all the things into one.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of what shaped the culture and the vision of the space. Is it's intended to be first and foremost a welcoming, collective social space.
Okay.
I think one of the greatest things that Tom and I both really agree about with the cigar industry is it's one of the last bastions of conversation. People can actually disagree civilly. It doesn't happen that often because we have so many common things to talk about. But from my perspective in this business, it's always been a real driving force for me in that personal connection, conversation, and community are maybe not failing, but waning for sure.
Yes.
And I consider us to be kind of one of the last bastions of that.
Well, everybody talks about, the cigar lounge being that place where you hear this so much. And I almost get to the point that I kind of mock it because you hear it so much. You could be sitting there with a guy who's a judge or a lawyer. And then at the same time, you get the guy that works for the trash department and blah, 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 and all that. But it's true. It's you bring all people from different types of the world together in one spot. And they can sit and, like you said, they can talk about whatever. And at the end of the day, at least we all know that we like cigars, and we all at least want to protect that freedom. And you're right. I mean, now granted, I've been in some places where perhaps the conversation does skew a little too far, and then you end up getting people that, especially if it's a place that also serves alcohol, sometimes it might get a little punchy. But generally, I think you're right. The cigar lounges are one of those places where you can have that open dialogue about various things, and everybody can still go their own separate way and not hate each other. We need more of that.
Yeah,
but
no
yeah.
doubt.
So, anyway.
But it is nice to be part of the thing that seems to be keeping it alive better than almost anything else that I can observe.
Yeah, yeah. So you started in 2019.
Yes, we opened in November of 2019 on Veterans Day.
Okay.
We had so I've only been involved with the company just short of 2 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But speaking collectively, we had the wonderful benefit of opening a retail and hospitality destination pretty much right before COVID.
Right before COVID.
Fortunately, being in the state of Florida, we had less restrictions than most places, but it was still prohibitive, especially for trying to open a new business.
I would think so.
We also definitely benefited from the fact that being that Tom is a multiple entrepreneur, it wasn't a critical time or space for us.
Okay.
And part of the reason that I love to emphasize this is it also gave us about a 6-month window to really refine and define our identity.
Okay.
So in most of my experience personally, when you open a space, you really got about 30, maybe 60 days for the people who are, because, cigar consumers, lounge patrons are very regular customers in general. So if you don't start out kind of paving the way of who you want to be, who you're catering to, and how we're going to get there, it becomes kind of this mishmash of what everybody else wants it to be.
I can see that. Yes.
So in that sense, I would say it was actually a huge advantage to us.
It kind of gave you about a 6-month soft opening versus like a, like you said, a couple weeks. Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense. And, I guess it's one of those things too. If they didn't discover you in November of 19, maybe November of 20, then they come along. And by that point, you've kind of got your feet under you and everything's going.
Yeah, things are more polished. It's a better way to make an introduction for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And then with the waterfront space, with the lake behind us, so I've lived in Florida pretty much my whole life. I'm native Floridian. Spent most of my career in South Florida. At all times, for the most part, within 10 minutes from the beach. Mm-hmm. This was the biggest challenge for me of partnering with Tom and moving up here was leaving the ocean behind.
Going to Central Florida. So what prompted the location in Central Florida? Do you know?
Yes, I do. So a couple different things. One of the things that Tom does in his other businesses requires and involves some government work.
Okay.
And with that, Sanford got highlighted as kind of one of those charming historic towns in Florida that hadn't been completely redeveloped and lost its identity.
Yeah.
There's also a pretty thriving hospitality, nightlife, and festival culture here.
Okay.
So you got a lot of movement in and out.
Yeah.
And it was also further enough removed from the rest of the established Orlando cigar community and footprint to where you're not
stepping on any toes and cannibalizing. I gotcha.
So it was also the last component. There's a lounge in Melbourne, Executive Cigar Shop and Lounge.
Okay.
And this was originally opened as a sister location.
Oh, okay.
So we had not only the guidance, but the need to be far enough apart from that perspective.
Yeah.
And also a larger radius that could potentially cross over.
Okay.
So all of those things were pretty contributing on the site selection.
Okay.
But then also getting these two spaces. This is a condo building, so we actually got to own the property. So
that's nice.
You have the advantage of the landlord can't tell you one day that he just doesn't like smoke anymore.
Yeah.
And then the waterfront, being on the lake. I think all those things were major contributors.
It is very picturesque with, you've got the lounge and then you have this room, which what room are we filming in right now?
Oh, right. So this is our boardroom.
Okay.
This is our private members lounge. It is physically connected to our general space.
Yeah.
But this room is 24 hours.
Okay.
And for the most part, our private members lounge works like a cigar lounge and a remote office space in one.
Okay. Very cool. And that seems to be something that I've noticed a lot of lounges. It seems to be a more popular trend lately. I don't know if lately you guys might have been on top of it, but I've noticed more and more places offering 24-hour access to members. And I don't know if it's something that's just now creeping into my area and that's why I'm only noticing it there, or if it's been a big thing all the time and I'm just now acknowledging it. But like, is that something that you in your industry time is that a common thing?
I have seen it before for sure.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I am operating a space that is available 24 hours.
Yeah. I would imagine that poses some other additional things you got to consider and think about.
Yeah, indeed. It's minimal in that, we have such a collective, responsible customer base in the cigar
Which I think
world.
you'd have to have in order to give access 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And over the years, there have been some missteps. You make the corrections.
Yeah.
But for the most part, our 24-hour access is really an advantage to our business clientele earlier in the day.
Okay.
We do have some members that engage in the space after regular business hours,
Mhm.
but it's more early morning, early risers, early start, remote office, get out of the house. Don't have to be in your own actual workspace, but you're not distracted.
Yeah.
So like 6 to 9 a.m. is probably currently the most advantageous 24-hour part for our existing member base.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to say that, to your point, I think, I'm seeing it more and more.
Yeah.
I also think it's the allure of people knowing that they can.
Yeah.
It's one of our members, he's an attorney. He works a lot during the daylight hours, but every other weekend I'll see him pop in around midnight.
Okay.
Just for a little kind of movie cigar session to himself. So that's the other thing, just to know it's there. I think most of our members use probably the post midnight till late night hours very minimally.
Okay.
But they always enjoy it when they do.
See, I'm a night owl and I'm up super late a lot. And so like that would be the time I would think I would enjoy it, would be coming in late, there's nobody else here, I can kind of make the place my own. And then also, where I live, obviously, it's cold in the wintertime. So, for me, once the sun goes down a lot of days, I'm out there blasting heaters in order to stay warm. Something like this was available in the evening and I wouldn't have to make sure, you're going to be out by 8 p.m. or something like that. That would be nice. That would be something, advantageous to me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, interesting.
Well, we should build it for you.
There we go. I don't know if I want to build in Illinois.
Fair point.
I don't know if you even can. You can, but it's so difficult these days. But, so let's talk about, kind of the place. So, you have the member room, you have the nice lounge, you will have a really, really nice bar, a fully stocked bar too, which is something very unique in Florida from what I've gathered.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So that has been, it's a nice advantage that we have in Florida.
Yeah.
In that our indoor smoking laws are really only attached to food service.
Mm-hmm.
So, as pretty much anybody knows, especially anybody who would be tuning into any cigar podcast, but especially yours, is Florida is a very cigar-friendly state.
Yeah.
That being said, the full bar gives us another kind of avenue in that it's a way to also introduce people to cigars, but to also entertain guests of cigar smokers that don't necessarily enjoy the thing that we enjoy.
For sure.
So it became also kind of critical for us. We run 100% fresh air. We vacuum the space. So we're taking out and replacing basically 3 times the amount of air that we would normally do in order to keep the air kind of fresh.
Which is so important.
Yeah. And
I've been to too many places where when you walk in, it's just a cloud and it never disappears. And when you leave, you stink and whatever. This place, this is my second time here, and both times the air is clear. You don't feel like you're ever sitting. We're making more of a cloud right here with these two than I've seen the whole time. And
yeah, and I shut off the air for the audio.
Oh, okay.
So.
And then also, you don't leave smelling like an ashtray. Whereas, like I said, so many other places I've been, you go home and you strip down the clothes, throw them in the wash immediately. So that's important. And that's something that I feel like a lot of lounge owners don't invest the money in when they start. They do a little bit, or maybe they think, throw a rabbit in the corner and call it a day. And it's like, you got to really put some money into the ventilation.
I agree with you completely. I think it's one of the most overlooked things and also one of the most cost prohibitive investments. But the dividends are huge. In that, for like perfect example, one of my favorite compliments on Earth is we'll have a regular cigar customer patron who will then bring their significant other that doesn't enjoy cigars, and they're comfortable in the space.
Yep.
And now everybody is comfortable in the space, and that's what it's for.
Yeah.
So there are ways to overcome it, and depending on the space, there are ways to overcome it or at least mitigate it in a fairly economical way.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that as an industry, for the very longest time, we didn't really have anybody speaking to that part, meaning an HVAC company or some sort of filtration. You know what I mean? To your point, like Rabbit Air is great about connecting with the consumer.
Yeah.
But that is not a feasible solution for a lounge.
No. If I have a shed in my backyard, that helps. But if you're talking a space, I mean, I don't know how many square feet this is, but just this one room alone is fairly large. A rabbit, even 2 rabbits in 2 corners, it's not going to do the job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate you that you mentioning it, noticing it. It's one of my favorite things about what we are allowed to offer in that. I think it's critically important for us with all the outside pressure that we face.
Which that's one of the big deal. Everybody talking secondhand smoke and whatever else. And it's like, if you're sucking it all out and you're recycling the air and doing the job properly, that's a non-factor. Yeah.
And we also have an opportunity to gain allies that aren't cigar smokers. People come into the space and they get to be like, oh, it's not, like you said, like that dark room, thick clouds. You know what I mean? That's a place I would go.
Well, everybody talks about the smoky back rooms that the deals are cut and made. And it's like, well, you can cut a deal here, but it's not smoky. So there you go. Perfect. So anyway, back to the bar. So, like I said, it's kind of a rarity, for, I mean, I guess full liquor licenses are rather cost prohibitive in Florida, correct?
Yes.
So, but you guys have one, and obviously you make all sorts of drinks, not just, beer and wine. What goes into selecting the offerings at the bar?
Great question. I kind of have the same philosophy about the bar side of the program that I do cigars.
Okay.
In that I believe, and I have found success over my career, that if you work in thirds, meaning a third of the product should be kind of the mandatory big names to an extent. I have some personal philosophies that conflict with that statement that I just made.
Okay.
But I'm selective in that process.
Yeah.
But then also a third of it being consumer driven, and then a third of it being the stuff that you personally really want to support, see through, invest in, build with, so on and so forth.
Okay.
So as it relates to the bar, I believe that to be exactly the same. I think, with the whiskey explosion of the last 5 years, there's no way you can carry everything.
Obviously.
So it becomes critically important to be listening to what people are asking for that you don't have.
Okay.
And I adjust fairly quickly, but I also don't adjust to everything. We are still curating the selection while listening to our customers rather than letting them drive it.
Yeah.
And then to your point also with the cocktails, that gives us an avenue to also kind of help people explore different things, get out of their kind of comfortable norms or their routines.
Yeah.
So some of the product selection is also very specifically to facilitate that cocktail execution.
Okay.
So on and so forth.
I would think that having a really good bartending staff would help a lot too, because they can bring whatever knowledge they have of mixology to be able to, work with a customer based upon what you have in stock. If a customer comes up and asks for something, they can at least figure out, okay, maybe we don't have that, but maybe I can try and work with them to develop something close to that they would like.
Yes, I would completely agree. Hospitality in general, the energy leads the room, but knowledge is very close second,
Okay.
I think. And especially in a space, cigar space in general, but a space like this that's kind of larger, waterfront, kind of welcoming to everybody. It can be an intimidating space for people too.
Okay.
So having somebody there who can kind of see what you enjoy smoking and kind of lead you on a pairing experience, or to your point also, if you're looking for a specific spirit or whiskey or offering, kind of also steer you in a complementary direction.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think my entire staff is also required to go through cigar training.
Okay.
So even our bartenders.
That's important, because there's so many places where they have the bartender, but they don't know anything about cigars, or vice versa. Yeah.
And very specifically with me, my incoming new staff that is not new to cigars is a great opportunity for me to kind of challenge my own direction, guidance, training. and force me to kind of remember the new things and evolve with fresh eyes and ears.
Okay.
And then I also get the feedback of someone who looks at it very differently. I mean, I've been smoking cigars since I was 15.
Yeah.
So getting somebody who's the first time, who's an employee and who's hungry for knowledge also kind of re-energizes our approach as a business.
Okay. Very cool. So then let's talk cigars then. We've talked the bar. Let's talk the humidor. Are you the guy that picks out what goes in the humidor?
Yes.
Okay. How the collection that you have in there, we got to go through that a little bit and kind of get into the mindset of how you came to that collection of cigars.
Okay, perfect.
Because I will say, I've seen bigger humidors. I've seen smaller humidors. For the size humidor you have a very wide range of offerings.
Thank you.
I think.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the other thing, and I'm just going to say this. This is me talking, not you. So when I go to Florida lounges, I always see, I can check off boxes of brands that I see. And there are some of those brands that I don't see in there, which is kind of nice in that regard. Cause like, I feel like maybe they're just having to check it off and it's less of a thing and more of almost a requirement. Like I'm in Florida, I have to carry X brand and maybe they don't sell as well, but you got to carry it because you're in Florida, that kind of thing. So it's nice to see some diversity in the humidor as well.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. This is the smallest humidor I've ever worked out of in my career.
Okay.
And I actually really enjoy that.
What's the square footage? Do you mind me?
Yeah, it's 650.
Okay.
Part of that you don't see because there's a storage behind.
Okay.
But also with that kind of glass wall and L-shaped presence, that square footage actually ends up being less showcase space.
Oh, yeah,
because
that's true.
the whole
you gotta
window,
have the walking and everything. Yeah.
That being said, it forces me to be way more conscious about my selection.
But you do have some shelves along the window.
Yes.
They're about, half height,
Correct.
so you can put at least some product along the window.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have very actively strategized where that back wall, that half wall that you're talking about is our more boutique.
Okay.
Also our more localized brands.
Yeah.
Not local production. It's Florida, right?
Yeah.
But local companies owned.
Yeah.
And then the first one right in the door is always kind of our newest brand to the offering, which gives me an opportunity to re-merchandise and re-showcase.
Yeah, because the last time I was here, it was, oh my God. You were having an event right around that same time. Hell, I think it might have even been that night.
I believe it was the Catelli brand event, but I can't.
I don't know.
When
I should
was
have
it?
known this.
About a month ago.
It was about a month ago. I don't know.
I should know too.
I should know this, and I shouldn't have even brought it up if I didn't know the answer off the top of my head. Sad part is, I think I have samples of it at home because I think I got home and saw it in my humidor. And I was like, "Hey, wait a minute, that's that brand that Trey Mac and I were saying we didn't know about." And then now I've had samples and
Don Emmanuel.
That's it.
Got it.
That's it.
We got there.
Yeah. Okay. We did. So yeah. So you had that on display, but then now today I go in there and you have a Placencia box, gift box, and there's another brand that, again, now I'm blanking.
Oh yeah. So right now on the barrel in there is the new 6 cigar Placencia sampler.
Yeah.
And the Caballo, their Year of the Horse.
Okay. So yeah. So I mean, so you kind of use that spot. Having been here twice now, I could say that spot's kind of like your little highlight. This is our new thing. And then you have the walls and the shelves along the windows.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay.
So the size of the humidor forces me to be way more conscious with my selections. Which is a good and a bad thing. I think I'm a little less experimental, but it's also probably the amount of time that I've been doing it. I think that's also a contributing factor. But it also allows us to not dilute our focus and our emphasis. It's easier for me to train with less brands.
Yeah.
And it's also easier for us to put more deeper and authentic knowledge behind the products that we do carry and support. It also allows me to move past something far quicker.
That's valid. You're not having to worry about, oh God, I have 9 facings of something that I need to work through in order, like it's not working. Maybe your clientele for whatever reason doesn't like it. You don't have 9 facings to work through before you can clear it out. You might have 2. Yeah.
And I pretty much always have something that needs shelf space. So when I find myself in a position where we make a decision for one reason or another to move on from something, it's quick because there's already something just kind of waiting for that space.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. Also,
Well, there's definitely no shortage of different cigars that you can bring in.
No
That's
doubt.
for sure.
Especially today, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think I imagine we must have reached the mid 90s to early 2000s level of kind of peak cigar production with the number of brands. We have to be close if we're not there again.
Interesting. Yet at the same time, there's always something new that somebody's coming out with, you know?
So true.
It's the new great thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The shiny new toy.
Yeah.
Right.
So what is your philosophy? How do you develop the collection that's in the humidor?
Okay. So going back to the kind of the formula of the thirds, that's kind of a driving factor.
Okay.
There are some cigars that I will say, from my personal perspective, are absolute must-haves.
Okay.
I think Padron is an obvious one. That's just kind of low-hanging fruit
For sure.
from the perspective of saying that it's a must-have.
Yeah.
That being said, it's also a real good metric for me for how well we're engaging with the rest of the humidor.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is for the most part, in my experience, regular Padron smokers are not really interested in anything else.
Yes.
And when I see our staff members kind of get comfortable or complacent with that, and when they recognize the Padron smoker going into the humidor and then they're just grabbing their cigars and going back, my thing is always, well, even if you're not talking to sell, you need to be engaging. And so that's kind of one of those sales checks.
Okay.
Then another one I would say obviously has kind of earned its way and is a must-have these days is Plasencia.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons from my perspective, damn near vertically integrated company, if not entirely.
Okay.
Which is huge for me.
Yeah.
At least having a couple of those.
Yeah.
But also utilizing Honduran tobacco and not just Nicaraguan tobacco. Without being a Dominican-focused brand.
With the geopolitical climate of the world these days and everything, specifically South America, I mean, I feel like if a brand wants to have a solid future ahead of them, they have to have some sort of eyes somewhere outside of Nicaragua as well. If they're a Nicaraguan-based company, they have to have a foot somewhere else just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I'm sure they don't need to be reminded of this. It's probably very heartbreaking for them as a company, but Fuente is the perfect example, right? Like every time they tried to do something in Nicaragua, something went wrong.
Yeah.
All of it outside of their hands, we should say, right? But it speaks to what you're talking about with that potential volatility, having a backstop, and having a company like Plasencia, like the Aroas, who can help facilitate product from Nicaragua, from other companies making its way into the United States. To your point, I'm very much that minded, meaning it has to be a great brand. I have to believe in the product, the tobacco, the consumer has to want it. But at the same time, I also build strategy. We need to have some Dominican production. We need to have some Honduran production, so on and so forth.
Because you as a retailer, you need to be able to make sure that this product's going to be able to come back to your shelf again.
Correct.
You know?
Regardless of the circumstances that we cannot control.
Yeah. Be it either our government or their government or both, you know? So, okay. So there's Plasencia and Padron.
Yeah. So then the new school, I will say, which is kind of comical, Foundation and Dunbarton. The derivative next generation from Drew Estate.
I would say the spin-off Drew Estate companies.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Principally for a couple different reasons. Foundation is one of those companies that I think not only the quality of their tobacco is and their blends is just from my perspective, subjectively, rock solid, kind of through the entire
I just had
portfolio.
a wise man before you and I sat down, so I get it.
But also showcasing a predominantly AJ Fernandez made brand that is not AJ Fernandez style flavor profile.
Yeah.
I also really like to offer.
Yeah.
And Foundation kind of checks all those boxes. Plus the guys are great. The company is amazing. Yeah. The story is authentic. Nick is probably, along with Pete Johnson, one of the best historians for tobacco that we have.
Not just tobacco. I mean, the guy's just like, I mean, my God. I'll tell
World
you.
culture.
I'll tell you flat out. So I met Nick at TPE 2020. And the first time I met him, you know, I get the, hey, Nicaragua, how you doing? Try the Foundation. You know, that character. And then I had him on during COVID. We did an episode and it was a Zoom chat, you know, because that's what you did during COVID. And he comes on and he's calm and he's talking about his various degrees and this historical thing and this and this and this and oh my God and whatever. And I get done with it and I'm thinking, this is two totally separate people. It's so bizarre how like they're the two personalities of Nick Melillo. And if you only know the showman side, you have no idea the brain behind the man as well.
Yeah, yeah, a true Renaissance man
Yeah.
in the original sense of the word.
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
It's really interesting. And then Steve is Steve.
Yeah.
Steve, the guy knows his tobacco. I'll give him that. He knows his tobacco. He can be opinionated and perhaps some might say abrasive, but he knows his tobacco, and he does put out a good product.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think all those things he would probably openly embrace. I don't
Yeah,
think,
no, I'm not, and that's the thing. I'm not the first one. I'm certainly not going to be the last to say it, and I've heard people say other things and, whatever, but he's got his following and people love his cigars. And I, like I said, every time I've ever smoked one, I've had a good time with it. I've never smoked a unicorn. Have you?
Yes.
Is it worth $100? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm putting you on the spot.
So from Steve's own mouth, he went out, he endeavored to figure out a way to make the most expensive cigars possible so he could charge people $100 and justify it. I smoked the blue unicorn and the black unicorn.
I didn't even know there were different ones.
Yeah, there's 3.
Oh, this goes to show my knowledge of it. Okay.
So you got the brown coffin, which I believe is related to the Muestra de Saca blending profile.
Okay.
And then the black built on the broadleaf side of things. And then the blue built on the Connecticut shade side of things.
Okay.
Personally, I am not. Connecticut shade is probably my least picked up blend profile. I have a very select amount of Connecticut's that I love to grab when I want a Connecticut.
Yeah.
That being said, that blue unicorn was exceptional.
Okay.
But to answer your question very directly, there's no point in time where I'm going to actively spend $100 on a Connecticut cigar because I don't enjoy it that much.
I get it. Yeah.
Which leads me to the black. I would do that again.
Okay. All right. That's a fair answer then.
And as a retailer, I must say, honestly, I paid for that cigar. It was not here. I bought it at another store.
So you paid your hard-earned $100 out of your pocket, and yeah, that's fair.
I don't think that I could have actively had an opinion about it if I was smoking their most expensive offering on the house.
On a sample,
so to speak.
Yeah. That's the thing. You got to have the skin in the game.
You're right.
Because I'm trying to think. So I've had the most expensive cigars I've had that I paid for was a $65 Byron out in Vegas. Now, granted, you're talking Vegas prices, but still, I mean, it wasn't even out of Vegas. I think it's maybe a $50 cigar.
Right.
But that was the experience made that. I sat with a buddy we were at the Monte Cristo Lounge in Caesars, and it was, we're just sitting there. 2.5 hours I got out of that cigar because we're smoking it so slow and just having a good time and whatever. So it was a wonderful experience, and I don't, regret that money in the least. But on the flip side, I've had a $50 cigar, and the brand will remain nameless. And I went to their lounge, and it was one of those places where you go and there's no prices on anything, which should probably be a concern in and of itself. But I saw it, and I was like, oh, this is... And it was labeled, for that lounge. I'm like, okay, so it's their house cigar. I'll try this. And it was to your point about flavor profile, it was very, very light. It didn't hit. And then it was $50. And I was like, well, that was $50 that I kind of wasted. But, I probably should have known. So
I think that's one of the biggest things that is overlooked a lot of times in this. So I believe we have this last 10 years, this new development of New World cigars where people are actively going after the price point that was originally left for non-Cuban, originally left for essentially Davidoff and Opus originally, is you have to understand that you're also preparing the consumer to judge the cigar twice as hard as they ever judged the cigar before.
100%. So that's the thing. Anybody who says that price shouldn't matter when you're judging a cigar is delusional. I mean, the money that I shell out, it's going to influence me. And then, you're saying I can't fairly judge a cigar if it's a sample. That's true too, because if you give it to me free, of course I'm going to say it's a great cigar because a free cigar is the best cigar, So yeah, you got to take price into account when you're judging it.
Yes, exactly. And I've had the same experience as you. I also generally don't like to disparage specific companies. There are times where I will do it happily.
There's one that I actively talk poorly about on the show. Not all the time, but when it comes up, But
I will never do it on somebody else's platform, right? That being said, I have had way too many experiences in the $35 to $70 range that were almost insulting.
Okay.
to where I have a real appreciation for, as your example, select tobacco.
Yeah.
Where initially, if you go into it completely blind and it's just the price point and the quality of the experience, you are happy. I think for the most part, they satisfy that
for
higher
sure.
expectation.
I mean, I'm not just like you. I'm not much of a Connecticut smoker, but the Atabey, I will pay Atabey price for Atabey. I mean, that's a Connecticut that's got flavor and it has some body to it, and it's a great smoke. Construction on that thing, you can't beat that.
Absolutely.
I mean, so all day long, if you're telling me, what's one Connecticut that you will smoke the rest of your life, and that's the only one you can ever have, Atabey, I'm going to go with Atabey.
And then you get to understand the story behind it and everything that they do to make sure that the cigar is worthy of that. And it becomes, from my perspective, and this is actually how I sell it, this will be the most comfortable that you ever are spending money on a cigar, even at $8.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not comfortable spending $35, $40, $50 for a cigar, no cigar can overcome that.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to take that step, I genuinely believe that this day and age, many companies, but very specifically Select Tobacco with their Byron, Atabey, and Alfonso offering, you will be very happy with the money that you invest in.
Bandolero is an underrated one too, because man, that one comes in just under that price, same price point, but it's super good too.
Yes.
So
yeah, and that's probably the most competitive segment of our industry, I would say, that like 16 to 25.
Yeah.
And they hit hard. I agree. Bandolero is almost a must-have for quality.
I keep deviating. So back to your humidor.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so then we have, as I mentioned, local offerings.
Yeah.
So one of the closest other small business lounges in the area is guys at Cigar Hustler.
Okay.
They have a line called Paustania. I carry that.
Yep.
Also, there's a location here in town in Sanford that we get along. We're cooperative, and they are buying through Hustler.
Okay.
So it allowed me to kind of bridge the gap of all of us participating together instead of competing with each other. And then I think probably the most important thing for me, as I say all of this, is we adapt.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how much I like a line or brand, a blend. If it's not working, it's not working.
Yeah.
And my staff also kind of leads that. I check in with my tobacconist and my bar staff on a regular basis to hear what people are complimenting the most, what people are trying the most, and what people are not happy with the most.
Okay.
And the one that I'm usually quickest to make action on is the one that's underperforming in a consumer perspective.
Okay.
And it could have absolutely nothing to do with the brand, the tobacco, the production, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But if there's I've always found if there's a group of people who have tried and maybe not even disappointed, but just neutral or underwhelmed, that in a regular business establishment, meaning a place where you see a lot of the same faces, that kind of opinion can permeate the entire room.
Yeah.
And then unfairly, I'm holding a brand accountable for something that's not entirely in any way their fault.
Yeah.
I'm looking at slower turns, deeper buys, whatever the case may be. So I'll move quickly on those.
Okay.
That being said, the last thing that I will say is the size of that humidor gives us an opportunity to engage in our customers in a far more comfortable setting.
Yeah.
Meaning that humidor is really not designed for a 15 or 20 minute conversation in the humidor.
Yeah.
It's designed for an introductory conversation in the humidor. If you're picking up cigars to take with you, we'll spend all the time in the world. If you're going to enjoy a cigar here, then we have the benefit of kind of helping you make that first selection, getting you comfortably sat, a drink or not. And then we have a conversation about your taste profile, how you're experiencing the cigar, and maybe some other offerings in the humidor that you want to try.
Okay.
When you're comfortably seated, already enjoying the cigar. So that urgency of like, okay, I know what I want to smoke now.
Yeah.
I need you to stop talking to me so I can go enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like we just overcome that based on the size of the humidor.
Okay. Okay. And then you have a cabinet with your flavored offerings.
Yes.
So that's nice as well for anybody looking for that. Interesting. So, in terms of the offerings that you have, what would you say, maybe aside from Padron, what is your number one? Like, where are you at? Like, what's the top seller?
Okay. So, Perdomo.
Okay.
Perdomo is one of our best-selling unit lines, one of our top-selling revenue lines, and also the line that does the most work itself.
The marketing, the branding.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's one that I always mention.
Yeah.
Because I think Perdomo has taken a very complementary but unique position in the industry from a price point structure.
Yeah.
Also, but
That's true.
But the packaging and the uniformity, but also the way that they control that showcasing, which I will openly tell you, I'm anti-authoritarian by nature.
Uh-huh.
The more rules there are in a system, the more likely I am to participate. But Perdomo has done such a good job of making sure that everything that they tell you to do or ask you to do works.
Yeah.
That I just like, okay, you know better than me.
Yeah.
And they're right.
They've studied it. Yeah.
Right.
Well, because I mean, I'm not a retailer, so I've heard this secondhand, but you have to carry it to get through them. You have to have so many facings and everything, and it's all color coded so that it kind of creates that pop of color when you go in the humidor. And it's like when you're looking in that ever referenced sea of brown, it's like there's the Perdomo section. You can find it really easily.
Right. Yes. Yeah. The intelligence and the research that they have put into how they showcase and offer their brand.
When they have the little shelf talker built into the box.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. That's for the longest time, I held the position that shelf talkers exist in the humidor because I didn't do a good enough job of preparing my staff to engage. It's one of those things that I kind of acquiesced where John Converse, my rep, and Nick both said, just try it, see what happens. And they were right yet again.
Okay.
So if
nothing else, it's a cheat sheet for your person when they're standing there. If maybe they want to like refresh real quick or something. Because I mean, it is difficult, I would think, for not just your staff, but any tobacconist to be able to know everything about every cigar that's in a humidor.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, the line that we train is the only wrong answer is a made up one. Mm. If somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, the best thing that you can possibly say to them, especially in our world, and I started smoking cigars at a very young age, so I might be slightly jaded about this, but unintentionally or otherwise, a lot of times you're going to get an answer that might not be accurate just because somebody doesn't want to not answer the question. Mm. And I very much believe that in this day and age, with podcasts like this, with the access to the internet, the consumer is significantly more exposed than they have been before to information.
Yeah.
And you're better off just saying, you know what, let me find out and let me get you the right answer.
Yeah.
But yes, the shelf talker is an aid in that endeavor. For sure.
I've never had a problem with somebody saying, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. Or I don't know, but let me ask somebody who does,
right.
And
we've all had that thing where somebody says something to you in the humidor that you just know is nonsensical. Uh-huh. And nothing is more of a turn off than being like, all right, thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fantastic. So now you guys, from what I've followed on your social media, you guys do a lot of events. Mm-hmm. What do you feel is the importance of events in a space like this?
Great.
So I know some places where it seems like they very rarely do events, and then there's you, who I feel like you guys are doing them fairly regularly.
Yes. So I basically try and schedule at least one bar-focused and one cigar-focused event every month.
Okay. Which doesn't seem like it's too much. I mean, if you were doing like one a week, then it could be like, okay, you're running your members into the ground a little bit, but pick your poison. If you're into the bar side or you're into the cigar side, one a month, that's not that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we usually will add in something experiential or educational in the middle of that. Like, for example, the Drew Estate Early Access, the way that they do their new product launch to the consumer. Yeah. We don't do like an event around that, but we will always do like a watch party. Okay. Where we can all watch it together. So I don't call that an event. It's really not an event, but it is a kind of a reason for us to get together.
For those Drew Estate folks, I mean, I'm sure they appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that I will say that I don't call it an event is, and you touched on this, is I've seen it on both sides of the business and spaces that I've operated, and also as a rep or in marketing or whatever the case may be, where some owners or operators start to get a little too excited about the uptick in revenue from events, and then your most regular customers feel almost taxed.
Yeah,
which I very much try to avoid.
Yeah,
which allows us to do, every year we have at least one, if not two, just fun parties. Like last year for a holiday party, we did a onesie party.
Oh, cool.
Because I genuinely believe that in a space like this where people are so regularly patronizing it, and also the sophistication air, it's nice to just have a silly night and just have fun and not worry about all the rest of those other things.
Oh, for sure.
So we try and mix it up.
Okay. Very cool. Well, okay. So you just touched on your time as a rep. So let's talk about you. So you said you started smoking cigars early. What is your cigar story? How did you get it? How did that happen?
So I was born in St. Pete area, Florida, which is about 30 minutes from Ybor City.
Okay.
So I was kind of raised around the former cigar capital of the world.
Yeah.
I will openly say, if you're even remotely interested in fire, smoke, or tobacco, and you're in Tampa, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That being said, I was young. And the first story, which I'll abbreviate, it's pretty funny. My freshman year in high school, I went to prom with an upperclassman.
Okay.
Was a sister of my big brother on the basketball team.
Okay.
And the upperclassman had taken care of everything else, meaning travel, lodging, so on and so forth. I couldn't drive.
Mhm.
So I had this idea that, hospitality and the way I was raised, you don't show up empty-handed. I needed to bring something.
Yeah.
So I decided it was in my utter brilliance that cigars were the thing that I should bring to the hotel for all the couples at prom. It also speaks to the naivety and the innocence that I had at 15.
Yeah.
Every other guy who was there with a date was like, I'm not hanging out with you and
Yeah.
smoking a cigar. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, no, I'm hanging out with my date.
But
Yeah.
my senior classman charity date, which I say jokingly to myself, she wanted nothing to do with me after the dance, right? So I was very happy to have that cigar.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So that's how it started. And it's a funny story in that the gentleman who owned the store, when I met him, he was 81. He was born in Cuba. And when I first went into the store, I did the thing that I think everybody does when they try and buy like beer for the first time underage.
God.
Walked in, pretended like I was old enough, made it look like I knew what I was doing. He laughed at me after the fact.
Yeah.
And then basically looked at my cigar selection and said, I don't know what this is for. Went and got, and I'll never forget this, went and got 2 Hemingway signatures off his shelf.
Yeah.
Brought them back to me and said, smoke this. And after it makes you violently ill, smoke it again the following day. If you don't like the second one, cigars are not for you.
Oh, okay.
Now I am pretty sure what he was trying to do was get rid of me.
Okay.
Not to take the risk of wondering how old I was and all the rest of those other
Yeah.
things, but also nobody wants a kid around the store.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. The first one absolutely did make me violently ill. It was also the first time I was drinking at prom.
Well, that might have also been part of it too, but yeah, okay.
But the following morning with my first hangover, I fell in love with cigars.
Okay.
So that's kind of my intro.
Okay.
Then in college, I was on scholarship. I had to live on campus.
Yeah.
And I went to Florida Atlantic University, which at the time, it's a great school, but at the time was also very much like a commuter, almost local party school.
Okay.
Great educational program. It's not to disparage the university in any way, but it was Boca Raton. A lot of wealthy young kids that just needed to be in college.
Yeah.
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 So being productive on campus was very challenging. So I used to go to the beach. I would put my boat in the water, which I didn't tell anybody that I had, and that's where I did my studying.
Okay.
And cigars were always with me.
Okay.
So that's where I really connected with the patience that it takes, the deep dive into the flavor profile and the strength experience. But also, I was now just 18, 19 years old.
I would say you're doing this fairly young and on your own to an extent as well.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
you're learning all this just on your own.
For the most part, I would walk into a cigar shop and they would do whatever they could to either give me the stuff that they were trying to get rid of or get me out of the store.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty much on my own, which is great because it's also how it shaped how I approach it. I don't want anybody to feel that way. So I'll take all the time in the world to help you understand what we do,
Yeah.
your product selection, so on and so forth. Fast forward a little bit. I was in the hospitality business after college.
Okay.
2 friends of mine opened a speakeasy cocktail bar,
Okay.
and they wanted to do a little cigar program to complement the theme. They knew that I had enjoyed cigars, smoked cigars, and I had lots of bar experience underneath my belt at that point in time.
Yeah.
So they asked me to help them with it. We built a single standing cabinet, like where you see our infused cigars are now.
Yeah.
And I put together a pairing menu with some of their spirits and cocktails. And the cigar side of the business, the bar did great, but the cigar side of the business exploded beyond our imagination. The 2 owners of the bar asked me to partner with them and open a cigar shop next door.
Okay.
That's how I started in the business.
Interesting. And then from there, obviously.
So, once I opened the store, I realized pretty much immediately that this is something that I'm going to enjoy, but also participate professionally for the rest of my life in one way or another.
Yeah.
So then the conscious decision from my end was now I need to spend some time on every possible aspect of this business to better understand it.
Okay.
There was 2 boutique cigar companies that I had in that store that were fairly new to the market when I was introduced to them, which was Catelli and Cafe 1901.
Okay.
So when I exited the retail store, first business venture also taught me a lot about first business partners.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. But when I exited that store, I went to work as an independent.
Well, it obviously didn't scare you away from business partners.
No.
Which I've had a business partner in the past, and he was great, but the day he left was kind of one of those like freeing moments where it's like, okay, now I can do things my way. And I'm at the point where it's like, I'm probably not going to deal with a business partner again, But to your degree, you obviously embraced it again.
Yes, very much so. And I have a great advantage now in that Tom and I are both great in business together.
Yeah.
But also when we reconnected, we were finishing each other's sentences within like 15 minutes.
That counts for a lot.
And we're also very different personalities with the same sense of humor.
That counts for a lot as well.
So I love it because the way that I like to explain it is Tom is the gas and I am the brakes.
Okay.
Or at the very least, I'm the rudder.
Okay.
Which is good. I need an accelerant behind me.
See, I need a break, but that's just me.
And I also believe that he really appreciates the resistance is not the right word, but the control or the strategy that I like to engage.
Yeah.
And at the same time, going back to it, I need somebody to remind me at some point in time, like, okay, you've overanalyzed this shit to death. Let's go and
mindful critique.
Yes.
There you go. Okay.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So Catelli and Cafe 1901, I was the Florida territory manager for both of those companies.
Okay.
And at the time, Cafe was being made at the Reyes family factory, which is the original maker of Puros Indios, Cuba Aliados from back in the day.
Yeah.
So they actually brought me on board, and I was head of sales for the Puros Indios and Cafe company. So not only did I do in-house outreach, Puros Indios was in a place at the time where they were really trying to rebuild and re-engage their brick and mortar footprint, which was also a great education for me because I got to call on about 800 accounts that were really not happy to talk to me.
So trial by fire there. Yeah.
But because I had retail experience, I understood a lot of their objections.
Okay.
And because I was young, it was a very quick conversation. Either they were not interested to talk to me at all, or they would hear me out, and we were usually able to get somewhere.
Okay.
And that was kind of my first experience on the sales side of the business. With Puros Indios, also had an opportunity to understand some generational tobacco and production.
Okay.
Rolando Reyes is one of my Mount Rushmore cigar makers, so that was awesome. But also kind of rogue in the way that he did things.
Yeah.
And the best way I can explain this story is when the family was kind of inventorying the factory after his passing, he had an entire room of raw cedar.
Okay.
So it was just anything and everything that he thought he may ever need for cigars down the road, he held on to.
Oh, wow.
Which was awesome to see because he had passed away before I was with the company.
Yeah.
So I was able to still kind of see his footprint on things.
Little
which was
mindset.
super cool.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's neat.
And then from there, I went back to the customer facing side. I worked at a couple different cigar places.
Okay.
And then joined the Prime Cigar Company, which became Empire Social.
Okay.
So they had, I will say, one of the best cigar lounges in the country ever was Prime Cigar in Boca Raton.
Okay.
Huge compliment to Ryan and Jason and the owners and what they built there. It was the neighborhood bar that was also a sophisticated cigar lounge, and everything worked in once. And the loyalty and the atmosphere that they curated, the staff, the team, everything. I still try and kind of reflect on that as we're building everywhere.
Yeah.
It was just kind of all the pieces fell into place. And then I moved to Brickell, their second location. We were in the process of a partner agreement and a buyout. So Casa de Monte Cristo purchased the Boca Raton location for us.
Okay.
I helped with the transition of that. And then I moved down to Brickell and took over our company owned lounge, which was co-branded with Casa de Monte Cristo, but was still a Prime Cigar location.
Okay.
So that was 4 years. Then COVID hit. I went to work for Davidoff for 2.
Okay.
Consulted in the industry after my time at Davidoff. And then through consulting, Tom and I reconnected, and the rest is history.
Okay. So now your time with Davidoff. What did you do at Davidoff?
So I was the national brand ambassador for the U.S.
Okay.
The position before me was held by Klaus Kellner.
Yeah.
Who is, not to overstate it, probably the shining star of the upcoming generation of tobacco and cigars. The way I used to joke with Klaus is he was literally like a tobacco plant. He was born and raised in Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Under the father and the tutelage of Henke Kellner and all of the exceptional talent that was at Davidoff at that time. And Klaus was having his first baby.
Okay.
So the only reason that the position even became available was because he was going to
stepping aside
build his family.
Yeah.
Which also speaks to the character and the integrity of that family.
Yeah.
But I had the advantage of being trained by someone who was literally born and bred in the soil of Davidoff.
Yeah.
So as a retailer of a Davidoff white label merchant for 7 years, being able to do Viaje before I was part of the company, and then getting essentially 30 days of unrestricted access to Klaus, really, he put everything he could into helping me be successful in the position and further the work that he and everybody else had done for the brand.
Yeah.
Phenomenal experience.
Very cool.
The other thing that I will say is my reluctancy in that was there was a little bit of concern that getting to see behind the curtain at Davidoff would soil or spoil something for me.
Yeah.
And it was exactly the opposite.
Okay.
Getting to see the way that the Swiss leadership allowed the Dominican production to be artists while they were the science.
Yeah.
And have it actually work. But also the foundation that was laid by Zeno Davidoff and Dr. Schneider also being still very prevalent in the company.
Mm-hmm.
I actually walked away from being able to see behind the curtain with a greater appreciation for Davidoff, which I will openly say was kind of a 50-50 coin on my presumption.
Yeah.
But it was awesome in hindsight.
That's great. I mean, because, I could definitely see where maybe coming to work for a company, suddenly you realize, oh, this is how the sausage is made. And, let's be real. In the cigar industry, I guess maybe not Davidoff to a degree, but it's a lot of family-owned businesses, and no disparaging. Well, maybe it is a little, but family-owned businesses can be very tough to work with sometimes. For a variety of reasons, especially if you are not family. And so,
right.
I would think that. Like to your point, not just Davidoff, but just in general, working for a cigar company, you can run into some roadblocks to where suddenly you're sitting there going like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, agreed. I think, to your point too, the family dynamic, trying to fit in the family dynamic while not intruding in the family dynamic must be a challenge.
I would think.
I'm fortunate in that everywhere I worked, I was welcomed and embraced wholly. But I can imagine the difficulty of navigating that.
Yeah.
And even with my time at Davidoff, I mean, the Kellner family is, right? Mount Rushmore, again. The kindness and the generosity that Klaus and Henke both showed me was also kind of a furthering of this, oh, no, the secret sauce is actually secret sauce.
Very cool. Okay. And then obviously that, like you said, then you eventually came here, and now you and I are sitting and chatting. So one of the things that Trey Mack told me was your fervent support for brick and mortar. And the importance of that. So we obviously are living in a day and age where online cigar sales, I mean, in some cases, I can see where they're important because I have a lot of listeners that don't have lounges near them. Part of my show, the whole concept behind it is you bring that lounge conversation to people outside of the lounge. So sometimes we'll talk about goofy shit. Obviously, this is a very cigar-centric episode, but whatever. And because there are people that they don't have anywhere but their garage or their car or something to sit and smoke in. But so I can understand from their perspective why having an online presence available to them is important. But I'm with you. Brick and mortar is so important for a lot of different reasons, not the least of which is it gives us someplace to go and smoke, which is rare in and of itself these days. It feels like it's just a constant one thing after another attack on both the industry and brick and mortar to a degree. Where do you feel like we're at right now, and where do you maybe see in the next 5 years where we're at?
Oh, okay. Man, absolutely, wholeheartedly. I appreciate Trey for making the statement. The brick and mortar side of the business is where I will lay my hat.
Yeah.
I do believe that, to your point, there is a lot of uncontrollable outside factors that we kind of have to measure and adjust and balance on a daily basis.
Yeah.
This is truly an industry where, and we say this about everything, right, I guess, but I really believe it to be uniquely true for us in that if you're not fully in love with this, don't do it.
Yeah.
The amount of time, the frustration that comes along with, in Florida, we're a very protected state, so it's hard for me to say this because I've always operated here.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine everything that we have to do and then waking up one morning and realizing that either your county or city or state government just decided that you matter to them anymore. Especially with everything that we've done to distinguish ourselves from general smoking.
But yet it
specifically
just
cigarettes.
always comes back to that, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I mean, because I'm in St. Louis, and you know, we were talking earlier about that PCA has been working with the St. Louis City Council about, you know, passing a indoor smoking allowance basically for their convention center, with the possibility that maybe one day PCA convention might come to St. Louis, you know, which that's a whole different conversation. But even during those conversations amongst the board of aldermen, you know, they're talking about the dangers of secondhand smoke and the this and that and whatever. And even the people that are supporting the measure didn't have the proper facts and information behind them to push for this. They were just pushing jobs and impact on the area, not so much talking about, well, actually, the secondhand smoke is not a factor. This is all the, you know, there's not the 110 cancer-causing chemicals in a cigar that there is in a cigarette, and blah, 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 and all that. And so there's just this constant level of lumping us in with everybody else, despite how for years and years, and there's court cases and there's science and everything else behind the fact that we are not the same as all these other products.
Yeah. For me too, the biggest one is when private industry, meaning the insurance industry, openly said that there's a difference. We're no longer talking about politics or small business or jobs or agenda. This is purely a dollars and cents conversation.
Exactly.
That life insurance basically came out and said, no, we don't even talk about cigars because they don't have an impact on life longevity.
Exactly.
In fact, the study that I believe you're talking about, one of the derivatives of that was cigar smokers live generally 4 to 5 years longer than non-smokers.
There you go.
Which is not to say that it's, you know, longevity thing, but I do think between social community, stress relief, a point of connection, human connection, all of those things contribute. And yes, it's challenging. It's a bit of running your head against the wall to constantly have to have that conversation locally, government-wise, and also upwards in our own industry.
For sure.
But it is what it is. It goes back to what I was saying about, you know, if you don't really, really love this, you should probably do pretty much anything else.
Yeah.
Which is not discouraging. I mean, I will tell you, if anybody is interested in getting into the business, I'm happy to help, right?
Yeah.
I think the more the merrier. It goes back to what I was saying about brick and mortar. Somebody opened across the street, I would be their customer. That being said, I also think that pretty much every brick and mortar store should have their own online presence. And I think that, to your point, a lot of the people that they're required to find cigars through a digital space because they don't have a local option, would more than happily buy from a small business if they made themselves available, marketed it accordingly. I think in my consulting time, a lot of people think that it's a far bigger undertaking than it really is, because it doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to start it.
Yeah.
And then the other end of that spectrum, and this is something that I kind of these days talk about pretty openly, the way I see our business, we really only have 4 competitors.
Okay.
For me locally, but also as an industry in whole. I am kind of the perfect example in that the Orlando cigar community was basically created and cultivated by Corona Cigar.
Okay.
You've had other players come in who succeeded very well in Cigars on the Avenue, so on and so forth. From my perspective, we are not competitors.
Yeah.
We are collectively kind of curating this. Now, they may feel differently because we are the newest kid on the block.
Yeah.
But I go back to the point, which is, from my perspective, the two biggest companies in our industry, with their online portals and their brick and mortar portals, meaning Cigars International and Casa de Monte Cristo, they are competition. Because they dominate the online space is part of it, but it's actually because, from my perspective, their business model is actually anti brick and mortar.
Okay.
So I see that as an adversarial relationship, and I'm fine competing with that.
Now, let's expand on that.
Sure.
So your perspective of them as anti brick and mortar, where do you come at? Like explain that.
Okay. So in my consulting era, one of the things that I said, and I kind of go back to this because it's substantive. It's not just my opinion.
Yeah.
I was actively saying to people, as it relates to STG and General Cigar and Cigars International and everything else, the more successful that you are with their line of products, the more likely you are to welcome a Cigars International opening up in your marketplace. The business,
and we've seen a big boom of those stores in the last couple of years.
And it's not to say that anything could impact their business strategy and their model. They're well capitalized. They're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But the way that they curate and build the data and the portfolio that they have, if you are participating in that network, you are inviting them to take over your marketplace. Also, personally, as a consumer and a cigar smoker, purchasing and then immediately lowering the quality of the product. And I'll specifically speak to La Gloria Cubana. Used to be one of my favorite cigars back in the day. I realized that you can't, once you take away the heart and the soul of a brand, nobody is expecting you to be able to keep that, maintain that.
I would make it a Alec Bradley. That would be another one. I mean, my God, you know, they were a company, then they were bought, and now you hear about them one time a year at St. Patrick's Day, you know?
So, and that is also kind of what I'm speaking to, in that the acquisition of small brands in those two verticals more often than not is to remove the brand from the marketplace. So they have more space for their core brands where the bulk of their revenue is. From a business perspective, I completely understand the strategy. I'm absolutely a capitalist by nature. It's not a problem with I don't have a personal problem with their model.
Yeah.
But I do understand it as anti-competitive in the space, and specifically as it relates to our space.
Yeah.
Also, very specifically, these are two brands that actively do what they can with their retail networks to protect the prices of their own cigars and then undercut them through their own online portals. So that is something that I have personal experience with. And that's what actually incentivized me to no longer participate, to be having a conversation on one side of your mouth saying that I need to be helping you to maintain the integrity, the price point, the consumer value for your product. And then somebody gets an email with a 35% off coupon specifically on those very same products.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah.
So, and in my position on this has evolved over time. When I first got into the business, I was very anti-DTC from a brand perspective. If a brand was selling to consumer, I thought that was kind of disingenuous in my younger years. I've completely reversed my position on this, which is kind of why I say it now. I mean, I am a retailer that also makes cigars. So how hypocritical would that be? But there's a difference between selling direct to consumer with integrity and selling them while exploiting either the consumer or your retail partners. And that's my position on that.
So then the other thing I've talked about on the show before is, you know, when you break down some of the shops and lounges and whatever else, you have your hobbyists, you know, the guys that this is their little clubhouse. You've got, you know, your business guys that come in and they run it properly. You know, what are some of the core things that you think a good shop should offer? You know, because I mean, maybe there might be some correlation between the two, but obviously, you know, maybe one might have more of that neighborhood feel. Maybe the corporate guy is more worried about the I don't know, but you know, it's kind of one of those things where they both offer a little something, but there's got to be some things that both should be offering.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that I always say, and this is something that I kind of recoach myself on too, is if you start to lose track of your vision and your brand position and identity, it becomes diluted. And it also ends up getting steered by everyone.
Which is kind of what you were saying with this place when it started, you know, you had 6 months versus the couple weeks. Yeah.
So that to your point, I think if you build a space that is based on experience, that offers a quality product, that has a well-trained and reasonably well-educated staff, all of the people that we just discussed will be happy to be there. But they still kind of lean on you to help them understand how to be there. So I think that's a big part. I think one of the most important things that I always say to people, and that I believe this myself wholly, is you must have at least one or two brands that no matter what you fully believe in. And generally that brand should also have a pretty diverse offering so you can introduce it to as many people that it fits as possible.
Yeah.
Trey's brand Aladino is probably the perfect example of that, right?
Yeah.
It's a unique industry position in that it's predominantly some of their own tobacco. The lineage and the heritage of that family, that tobacco and that company is distinguished in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But also it's a portfolio that for the most part, almost any cigar smoker, if you had to exist in just one umbrella,
You
there's
can
something
find
for everybody.
something there. Yeah.
So I generally believe that most lounges and stores should have one of those.
Okay.
It too is best. If you're going to endeavor to do a house blend or your own line, that should obviously be that position. But I also, for authenticity and just for the nature of how I think about our community, it can't just be about you.
Yeah.
So that's a principle thing for me. And then beyond that, I think probably the most important thing for me is the safety of the space. And I don't necessarily mean physical safety.
Yeah.
I think the cigar lounge world is pretty well self-protected generally.
Seems that way. Yeah.
But safety from the perspective of what we were talking about, where you can facilitate conversations that you can't have in other places, where you keep it respectful, where you're able to introduce people that are from different perspectives and different walks of life in some sort of harmony.
Yeah.
I think it's also important because, to your point, we're generally gathering a lot of business oriented clientele.
Tends to be.
In my time in South Florida, I will tell you, one of my principal self-imposed responsibilities was protecting my members from con artists.
Yeah.
Because South Florida is a pretty deep pool for that.
Yeah.
And
they come around.
And you get that, a popular, excitable, successful cigar lounge, that there are exceptional, successful people. So there are almost always sharks that come swimming.
Coming in looking for an investment into this or that or whatever. And yeah.
So that's another reason why I say safe space. Because I generally very casually, when I first meet somebody, and I will and this again comes from my practice in South Florida, I'll feel them out, ask a couple questions about what they do, so on and so forth. Because I know at some point in time, it's going to come up with somebody that I know better, and they're going to have an introduction, and they almost always come to me and ask me my thoughts. I won't ever say anything that I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do generally want to have a position, especially for our member base, our regular customers, so on and so forth. So that safe space thing, whatever that means, that's kind of how I define it.
Okay.
And then cleanliness is huge.
It is huge.
It's something that's so incredibly overlooked in our
judge
industry.
lounges based on ashtrays.
Ashtrays and bathrooms.
Your guy, and I'll say, both times I've been here, your people have been on top of ashtrays, even to the point that I'm like, oh, I still have a little bit of cigar. You can leave that, but they clean it no matter what.
My guidance
bathrooms is huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
My guidance is, if you're listening and you have a cigar shop, steal this. My guidance is the third dropped ash should be cleaned. So the third time somebody is enjoying a cigar and they drop the ash in the ashtray should not see the fourth.
Okay. And to your point about bathrooms, especially if you're a place that is welcoming and inviting to people to bring their spouse, there is nothing more embarrassing than bringing your lady friend to a cigar place and that the bathroom is a shit show. Perhaps literally, and I've been there, I've done that, and it sucks because you're like telling, hey, we should probably find you a restroom before we go, and that's embarrassing to say. This is the place I hang out, but the bathroom's a fucking mess. It's like, that's embarrassing. Who wants that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the quickest and easiest analogy is if you go into a restaurant and you go into the bathroom before you eat. Yeah. And it's not appetizing.
Exactly. It's the same concept.
You're probably going to have a drink and maybe an appetizer and then go find another place to eat.
Yeah.
Even though we are not cooking this, it is still being ingested. And I genuinely believe that the perception is exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you don't care about the sanitary nature of the entire space, then what are you doing to my cigars?
Yeah. No, that's valid. So now, kind of taking that conversation and going back to what I was talking about with you with the online guys. Obviously, there are things that the brick and mortar offers that the online cannot.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, unfortunately, due to geography, whatever it happens to be, they're stuck with what they've got. But what are some things that you feel the brick and mortar offers the online doesn't, obviously aside from just a physical space, and they need to capitalize on? Because again, I hear from brick and mortar all the time about, the online guys are beating me up, blah, 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 and all that. where are the points they need to be emphasizing and strongly, going at. And then in turn, I guess the broader question is, what, if anything, I guess it really comes out in this point. What, if anything, can the brick and mortar do about the online guys? If they want to find a way to compete, what do they do?
Man, what a plug this is. The first thing on my list is literally by Dave Garofalo's book, David vs. Goliath. It speaks about how to build promos and understand the way the online, the big guys in the online business.
He's not even paying you for this plug.
Not at all. The book is invaluable.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. Very specifically from the perspective of if you want to understand how to compete with the big online guys, even if you don't want to do a website, the strategies and the promotional offerings and the way that he approaches it and details it in the book is a great head start.
Okay.
I said it already, open a website.
Yeah.
These days even with minimal understanding of prompting, you can have a website in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And for the most part in your state, even if you're at a high tax state, there's still consumers in your state that are going to occasionally patronize you.
Yeah.
They may still be a value proposition, which it is. And unfortunately, the way the state by state tobacco taxes exist, that's a huge advantage.
And we have started to see some states, though, that are coming in and saying, hey, online sales have to be taxed at the same rate as brick and mortar, which I think that's fine. I'm not a pro tax guy. I am a very we need to do, I want to burn it all down, but that's neither here nor there. But in this case, if you're going to impose these taxes, you got to impose it across the board uniformly.
Right. Yes. And also from that perspective, exactly that perspective, the people that I know who had a website that was doing little to no business leading up to COVID, all of a sudden they had a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
And with this potential tobacco tax regulation through e-commerce, if you're prepared, you're going to see an increase in business just based on the fact that you have a place where people can go and buy cigars.
You're already there. Yeah.
So that's a big one. The other side of the coin, getting away from kind of the procedural approach, trust.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is the websites are pretty good about making recommendations based on the same information that you would get from a magazine.
Okay.
Blend breakdown, company portfolios, similar price point, but there's no way to have a conversation about it. Even if you're able to get into an inside salesperson at one of the big online stores, there's a 50-50 chance they even enjoy cigars. Whereas for the most part, you walk into any cigar shop and the person who's going to sell you cigars is enjoying cigars.
Okay.
But the trust also comes from face-to-face.
Yeah.
Being able to read body language, facial cues. It's also why I say it's so important that we never come up with an answer that we don't know to be true, because now you may as well just be a web page.
Yep.
That's a big one for me. And then it goes back to what I was saying before about one thing that the cigar shops can all do to differentiate themselves from the online space. Events, I feel like these days in large part have just become promotional sales.
Buy four, get one free, cut and light kind of deals.
And if you're operating that way, what you're effectively doing is teaching your customers to buy online, because that's how they can buy online all the time.
Well, you're devaluing the product by doing that. Yeah.
So making it more experiential, and then also actively planning, like I mentioned, the holiday onesie party, but something that's just fun, that people are going to remember, that gives them an opportunity to have an ongoing positive memory about your space. That's not in any way, and I mean this from the operator perspective, when we do our holiday party, I don't look at sales. I don't care. Yeah. It's not about revenue generation.
It's how much fun did everybody have?
Absolutely. How long are they going to talk about the fun that we had that night? That is something that, I mean, in the digital space, the amount of podcasts and reviews and live streams and WhatsApp chat groups and everything that's happening now, there's plenty of places for people to even get some form of social engagement in a digital space, but you can't really give them laughs or a good time unless they're already with friends.
Yeah.
So if you're activating in your shop, your lounge, or wherever the case may be, something that's just memorable, that's something that nobody can take away from you and put on a website.
Okay. All right. No, that's fair. Well, now I want to pivot. I want to completely pivot. And I'm going to plug in my little drop here, but I'll do that in the video side. Or I'll do that later.
It's time for the Villiger Cigars Entertainment Report.
Brought to you by
Villiger.
Villiger Cigars, one of the leading cigar and cigarillo manufacturers in the world, founded in 1888 and still family-owned and operated. Head over to VilligerCigars.com and check the store locator to find a shop near you that carries them. We guarantee that Villiger Cigars will be a wonderful addition to your humidor and cigar rotation. So now we're going to do a segment. It's the Villiger Entertainment Report. This has absolutely nothing to do with cigars. This is basically, what are you being entertained by lately? Movies, TV shows, books, podcasts, radio, music, whatever it happens to be. What is filling your time on the entertainment side? What are you engaged in?
This is great. Podcasts for sure.
Okay. And give plugs. This is the time of the show where basically my listeners like to hear, like, hey, this movie I watched was really good. And everybody likes getting those kind of recommendations. So this is where I branch it out and we do that. So
got it.
Yeah.
For me, the significant advantage for podcast listening is long form conversation.
Yeah.
It's getting to be a patron in the space that I curate every day.
Mm-hmm.
I can never be generally sitting down for an hour and a half here.
Mm-hmm.
So listening to a conversation for an hour and a half, especially from specialized high achieving people.
Yeah.
Diary of the CEO, for example, is a podcast that I
like
listen
that
to
one.
pretty
Yeah.
regularly. With the state of the world today and the fact that I am principally in need to be providing a enjoyable, entertaining, and easy space for people that come in the space, I pretty much avoid the news right now.
I can understand that.
Because I'm not good at shielding myself from those things and then not having it impact other people.
Yeah.
So that's also kind of why I've leaned into the podcast side of things, because you'll get other people talking about topical things that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
But I can decide whether I want to pull more information or just leave it aside so it doesn't affect my day-to-day business.
Okay.
Entertainment wise, it's interesting. I've pretty much entirely distanced myself from sports over the years.
Really?
And it didn't happen for any reason. It wasn't political or anything like that. It's just, I grew up playing sports. I've been in hospitality spaces my whole life.
Yeah.
There's almost always something on television. So the reason I say that is March Madness is the one thing that has still held on to me.
Okay.
And that starts today.
That's true. It does. You're right.
So from an entertaining perspective, that's very high on my list. Mostly also because it's the last part of sports that I'm really, truly excited about.
I know there's a lot of guys that really like the college sports over the professional side of things. I went to a school that, quite frankly, we were too small to ever like. I mean, I went to SIU Carbondale. So for a hot minute in the like early 2000s, maybe that like first 10 years of 2000 to 2010, we went to the tournament maybe twice, I think. And I mean, we were out pretty quick, but they kept stealing our coaches. Like, but anyway, so like because of that, I don't really have like a tie to a school in college sports. Like, you got people that are, I'm a big Michigan fan or I'm a big Florida fan or whatever it happens to be. I don't have that, like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So I will watch college sports, but I don't have like any sort of skin in the game, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so, I guess I respect the college sports thing. It's just not I'll watch it, but it's never been anything that I've been like super jazzed about. But
yeah,
I don't know.
get it.
I don't know. I'm just kind of talking.
Yeah,
But I mean, but
completely
like,
get it. So what is your, I'm going to flip the script a little bit. What is when you're between your work and this, what do you do when you want to entertain yourself?
So I have a TV sitting out in my garage, and so I will post up in the garage. I watched a lot of shows. What have my God, I've watched The Sopranos probably 6 times through, over the years. That's a go-to. Eric over there had me watching Bridgerton. So I've watched 3 seasons of that, and then the spinoff Queen Charlotte. She drugged me into that. The first season, it took a little while for me to get past that first episode, or second episode. We watched the first 2 together. But then the third, it took a while. But then after that, it actually was surprisingly all right. But I haven't watched the 4th season yet because I just haven't. I'm a nerd, so I like my Star Trek. So, I've always got that going. I don't know. My buddy Dave got me into, I hadn't watched it in so long, professional wrestling. and but not the WWE, because to your point about professional sport, I feel like professional sports in general has gotten way too commercialized. Everything has a logo and a brand and all that shit on it and everything like that. And when you watch WWE, oh my God, they've got logos all throughout the mat and everything now. So like I tend to watch, the AEW, which is like it's based out of Jacksonville. I guess Tony Khan, who owns the Jaguars, his family, they started it up. And so it started in Jacksonville and whatever else. But yeah, so I just, I tune out. That's my whole thing. When I'm looking for my entertainment, I want to shut my brain off. I don't want to like engage. I agree with you on the news front. Truthfully, I kind of got out of the news in 2016. And this is a guy who owns a newspaper, for God's sakes, so I get it. But so I fully accept the irony of this. But I got out of the news in 2016, and it's only been this year that I've actually started like dipping my toe in again, just to kind of keep track. That last year, I'd say 2025. But it's only because you have to,
right?
And then you're watching it and it's like, shit, where are we? And yeah, so, but I try to distance myself from that too, because we could go into a whole different rabbit hole of, the unhealthiness of too much news consumption these days.
No doubt.
And everything. But yeah, so that I look for diversions when I'm entertaining. One book, I highlight it. I've talked about it a couple different times on here, but I'll throw it your way just because. John Cleese from Monty Python, he wrote a book called Creativity. You can read that in 2 hours. Real short read. The fairly big font. I mean, like I said, it's super quick read, but it's so insightful as to how to train your brain to be creative. And he talks about the value of playtime and how adults, we grow up and we don't give ourselves playtime. And when we have playtime, we have to tune out the rest of the world. Turn off your machines, turn off your devices and this and that and whatever. Isolate yourself and just play. And how that will train you. He's like, creativity is not something you're born with. It's a muscle you cultivate, and anybody can be creative. And so that's a book I like to highlight a lot because it's a really easy, good read, but it's one that you can read it multiple times and pull something away from. So,
oh, nice.
There you go.
I'm going to pick that up. Thank you.
It's fun. And it's good. And like I said, it's a quick read, but like I said, the first time you read it, you're like, okay, that was cool. Second time you read it, now but you go through it and you pick up things. It's really neat.
I'll trade you.
Okay.
I got a book for you also. It's called The One Thing.
Okay.
It's the gentleman that started Keller Williams.
Okay.
And it's about anti-multitasking.
Okay.
It's an interesting story because it's told in his own personal narrative about how he built a company, which forgive me, I'm going to probably get this wrong. I think originally he was in finance, and basically achievement driven, rising up the ladder, burned himself out, almost lost his family. Like, he's very vulnerable about telling you the story about all the things that he thought he was doing that were winning, that were actually punishing himself.
Yeah.
And then the philosophy that he kind of found, landed, and then developed and cultivated that saved him. That is also how he trains the entire Keller Williams portfolio.
Okay.
It's, for me, really, really good about organizing, focusing, and maximizing the output of your day without it feeling like simply just efficiently organizing your day. Like, it still feels fun, but structured. And it's also a quick read, flip through, easy to go. And then, and I don't know why I neglected to mention this, but I think the comfort blanket of you leading, being geeky, I also disconnect mostly with my entertainment.
Yeah.
And it's either twofold: outdoors.
Okay.
In almost any fashion. The water runs through my blood, being a native Floridian, so that's usually basis, but it doesn't have to be. And then the other one is, I'm a video game guy.
Okay.
That's how
I'll be honest,
disconnect.
man. I used to play games, but then I launched my newspaper in 2015, and quite frankly, once that hit, I mean, all free time went out the window for a big chunk of years. And actually, it was 2018. It was July of 2018. I was out in Vegas with a friend, and we went into the Monte Cristo Lounge, and he smoked cigars, and he wanted to buy a couple, and I was there. And, it's the nice humidor and everything else, and so you finally are like, fine, screw it. I'll he's been bugging me for years about trying one. So I bought, it was a white series, and we didn't even smoke them there. We brought them back home. And so we're sitting out, and finally he's like, "You want to have the cigar?" I'm like, "Fine, we'll have a cigar." And it was that hour and a half of just sitting and being forced to just sit there and do nothing but smoke. It was that forced relaxation at a time when I was going crazy with the business, that it was like the heavens parted and this chorus of angels sings down on me, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I love this." And so that's where it started. So to your point, there's that, but yeah, I don't remember where I was actually going with that, but yeah, you got to be able to disconnect. And video games. That's where it was. That's where you started. So no, I hadn't played a game since 2015, and at this point, my Xbox is literally just a Blu-ray player. I don't even think I think I maybe own like a couple of games from way back when, but that whole industry has advanced so much since then that I wouldn't even know where to start with that again,
Yeah. That's actually, it's interesting. That's another thing that I was thinking about is the majority of our staff is younger than me.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to reconnect with music because generally the younger generations are much more connected to music in general.
Yeah.
But also they're more time available and interested in finding the hard to find stuff.
You have to. Because it's not like when you and I were younger, to where like you had the radio promoting music brands and this and that and whatever, to where it was all cultivated for you. It's like now you have to. The internet's been both good and bad in that regard, in that now anybody can get a following, but it just takes effort and work to find the music that you like.
Right. Yeah. I found myself I'm either listening these days. I'm either listening to things that I have been listening to for 10, 15, 20 years, or something that somebody who's at least 5 to 15 years younger than me turned me on to that I love. So that's a part of it. But also to your point, in the nature of this space, most of the time when I leave here, because of the conversation and just the overstimulation, I drive home in complete silence.
Okay. No, I could see that. Wednesdays when I do my deliveries, my printer's an hour and a half north of where I live. So I have to drive up, get the newspapers, drive them back, and then do all my deliveries. That's when I tend to consume a lot of my podcast time. So that's when I'll catch up and listen to Cigar Authority. So I get both the main show and the after show in one shot, and then, like you said, Diary of CEO, I was on that for a little while. I'm picky and choosy on the episodes,
Same.
because it's one of those things. Sometimes you read it and you're like, I'm not interested in that. And then other times you're like, holy shit. Like he had a guy from the CIA on not too long ago that's keyed up in my queue that I need to listen to. BBC just did a 5-part thing about a retrospective on Phil Collins. And I'm like, all right, I've listened to that on the plane down, So it's different stuff. You just find it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I appreciate most about podcasting in general is it can be a guest that you want to hear about. Yeah. It can be a show that you like the theme of.
Yeah.
And also generally for me, within 15 minutes, I'm either in it to the finish or I'm done.
Production value is big for me too. I'll tell you what, if it's a show and the audio is too low and I'm like turning my volume in my car all the way up to be able to hear it, I'm like, I'm out. Because that's the other thing. The volume in the radio is competing with the wind noise from the window because I'm smoking in my car. So, it's the audio levels have to be high enough. So I crank the audio. When I edit this, I always make sure I turn them up a little bit.
Nice.
There's that. And then also, I don't want to sit as we're sitting here talking. If it's an engaging conversation between two people, that's one thing. But like true crime, for example, I can't stand the podcast where it's somebody just telling the story of what happened. I want interviews with people involved. I want maybe clips from like the TV news where they're playing like, the news, what happened, things like that. There was one, it was a season of, I think it was called Monster, and it was all about the Zodiac Killer. That was amazing because they had all the TV and the different interviews. But then you could find other ones about that same topic and it's just,
right.
So I don't know. Very cool.
I'm super curious. So Monte Cristo White was your first cigar.
It was.
And I love the fact that you were exposed to cigars in the Monte Cristo Lounge in Vegas, but you didn't actually have one there.
Yeah, we ran out of time. It was one of those things we were going to do it. And then we realized, we have to be somewhere else. And so we bought and ran and we just never ever got around to smoking them there.
And Vegas is
And
such a quintessential cigar town, and that was such a quintessential cigar lounge. It's just
That was
wrapping
it.
my head around, like, when you return to the, because you mentioned that lounge in Caesars with the same friend when you talked about it originally.
No,
different
one.
So when you returned for the second time, when you actually enjoyed a cigar in the lounge,
Yeah.
do you remember what you smoked then? Out of curiosity.
Okay, so I've been to that lounge 3 times.
Okay.
So the first time was when I bought that White Series.
Yeah.
The second time was 2021. And no, I do not remember what I smoked there. What I do remember about that experience, so that was right before the CDC had released the had relaxed the guidelines for the plexiglass and the masks and the distancing and all that shit and everything. And I was out there for TPE, and it was May, and so it was the last day of the show that they had relaxed that. And I remember walking through the hotel lobby by the casino, and they're taking all the plexiglass down and all this shit and everything. And what I remember specifically about that trip to the Monte Cristo lounge was we bought our cigars, we sat down at a table, and a waiter came over and said, "What are you guys eating?" And we said, we're fine. We're just going to have a drink. And, well, you have to mask up as you're smoking. And I'm like, excuse me? And he said, yeah, you have to put your mask up in between puffs. And I'm like, you're joking. And he said, no, but if you buy a bowl of chips or a bowl of nuts and have them on the table, then you don't have to have your mask on. I'm thinking, what the fuck is the difference? So I bought a bowl of chips for $10. The bowl was smaller than this ashtray in front of us. And it was like Crunchers, the kettle cooked thing. We didn't touch the bowl the whole time. It sat there, and it sat there when we left. We didn't even touch it. But that was our permission, our get out of free card for being able to sit and smoke a cigar without a mask on. So that was my second. The third time is when I had that Byron.
Got it. Okay.
So,
Okay. Perfect.
yeah. So it was the third time that I had a good time at the Monte Cristo Lounge.
Right. and a great cigar to do it with as well.
Yeah. Like I said, 2.5 hours. I mean, I don't, like I said, $65. That's a high price point for me. And I actually bought both the cigars. I bought my friend the cigar. So I actually spent 130 plus whatever, on that. But I don't regret that at all. Cause like I said, 2.5, when you can get 2.5 hours out of a cigar, I mean, that's impressive to me. And then the company. See, that's the thing, with cigars, the experience surrounding them, I think makes so much more of a difference in your impression of that specific blend and that brand or whatever it happens to be.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I have a self-imposed rule anytime I'm evaluating a new product, either as a consumer for myself for enjoyment or for here. I smoke it 3 times in 3 different settings.
Okay.
Because I don't want, good or bad, I don't want the people around me, the space, the time, whatever, to have that much of an initial impact. And it's impossible to divorce myself from it, especially just the nature of what I do. Like, I'm always kind of feeling the room and everything else. So yeah, I completely agree with you in that you unfortunately, I think we've all done it, where you form an opinion on an experience with the product that the opinion actually was more about where you were, who was with you, good or bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely agree. And it's also probably the best advantage that we have, not only through the e-com space, as we were talking about before, through the big box guys, as we were talking about before, but just separating us from other verticals, other industries in general, that social connection, but also the collectivity of it, meaning, and I get to see this almost every day, somebody comes in for the first time, they're from out of town, so whatever else, just them having a cigar in a space is enough.
Yeah.
But then they end up in a conversation with a complete stranger for 2.5 hours, and it's like this moment of bliss.
Yeah.
There's very few places these days where you can achieve that.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Well, that brings me, okay, I have one more question before we get going here. So you've prompted another question here, which is, so in terms of, again, cultivating what you have in the humidor, we talked about that earlier, but obviously there's so many cigars out there, so many companies, and I'm sure they're all, chomping it, getting into your humidor, be it samples, whatever it happens to be. The mindset when you're presented with a company or a brand with some samples, what factors are you looking for in terms of saying, okay, yeah, I'm going to give this a shot for my consumers to try?
If I'm exploring a company that I wasn't aware of.
Let's go that route.
The first thing, the most impressive thing, good or bad for me, is how the offering, the samples, the collateral material, or the conversation is introduced.
Okay.
So if it's a brand that I'm not aware of, which these days there's plenty of those, but I try to be as plugged into the industry as possible.
Yeah.
If the interaction is loose,
okay,
or too casual, or the cigars are presented suboptimal,
okay,
there's almost no coming back from that.
Yeah.
It's kind of that first impression stigma.
Yeah.
But it also, to your point, it's such a highly competitive. This is probably the best time there's ever been to be a cigar smoker, from the opportunity of having great options.
Yeah.
So it's such a hyper competitive space that I'm actually looking for ways to pass on things, even respective of the tobacco and the performance, because we can't carry everything.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of kind of the initial, is how it's presented before I even go and dig into who's making it, where it's coming from, all the rest of the things. Now that leads me to another one. If a brand won't say where the cigar is made,
yeah,
I am not interested.
Okay.
Period. If they don't want to talk about the blend, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons where I can understand that. I think as an industry, also for so many years, we had this weird veil of secrecy that was so unnecessary.
Yeah.
That some people dipping in the business, I think, believe that for one reason or another, or they were led to that position to kind of keep some of that proprietary.
Yeah.
I think those of us who know if you give two cigar makers the exact same materials, they're going to get two different products. It's almost impossible to duplicate a blend.
Yeah.
But if you won't tell me where the cigar is made, great, have a drink, let's get to know each other. We're not going to do business.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. For me, also, it's where the customer position is, the value. And that can be so many things. Going back to something that you said with the wall of brown, the sea of brown. If somebody is introducing a unique visual presentation, now, of course, the tobacco has to be there, everything else.
For sure.
But that will actually give me a second look, more than, say, some more geeky things.
Yeah.
As an example, I guess, Nova Cigar Company.
The blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so true in our business. You see somebody do something different that works and 15 people duplicate it almost overnight.
I talk a lot about both Crux and Blackbird for the same things. A lot of color involved in both of their products.
And to speak to Blackbird on that, I'm maybe going to overstate it a little bit, but Jonas has to be one of the most uniquely authentic people that we have in this business.
Yeah.
And he's always been that way.
Yeah.
And I have a massive appreciation for that. If you know him, he is a tobacco person. He is a purist. But then the way the brand is positioned, it doesn't lean so much on that. You get that experience when you try the cigars.
Yeah.
But he positions himself very authentically. And it's not trying to make sure that he's desirable to everybody. You know what I mean? I love that he's really kind of honed in on who he is, where the brand is supposed to be, and who he wants to be smoking his cigars.
For sure.
And also, it's uniquely positioned.
Yeah.
That's a great one. The other one for me is, and it's a question that I will almost always ask, and I usually don't expect this answer from a sales rep for a small company, but what's your production schedule?
Okay.
And the reason that I want to know that is because, especially with a somewhat underknown brand, the worst thing that I can do for me, for my customers, and for the brand is get a whole bunch of people introduce something to then I go 2-3 months of a gap.
Yeah.
Not because of our purchasing cycles or finances or whatever, but just because they don't have the product.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how aggressively are you opening stores? What is your target in our... and again, going back to the competitive nature of how I see the business, I'm not a territorial guy. I don't have any interest in exclusivity in rights of products and all the rest of those other things.
Yeah, but you want to know if every shop in your area is carrying the same thing, though.
Yes, but not the way most people would think.
Okay.
Meaning, if every single store in a market is carrying a product, I should probably have it. There's a reason for it.
That's a valid point.
If it's delusion, boy, I'm just going to keep taking shots at them. But Cohiba.
Okay.
That's a cigar that's in probably 80% of the cigar shops in the United States. Maybe not that much anymore, but certainly half of the stores in the state of Florida. That's a different conversation, right? But like, okay, we'll roll it back. My father, the blue.
Yeah.
For the most part, if you're not carrying that cigar, you're just leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
So that is actually one, but I look about it differently than most other people. If I see a cigar, or if I have people coming to me that's consistently asking me for a cigar that I don't carry, I'll consider adding a portion of the entire line based on, well, there's 15 people that just asked me for something in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
On the other side of things, most of the people who know me from my time in the business, in the market or outside of the market, if I have people reaching out to me about a cigar that I'm friends with, 90% of the work is already done because they know personally how picky I am with my tobacco. And if they're suggesting the cigar for me to try, if I like it,
they know your benchmark. Yeah.
If I like it, I'm almost certainly going to do well selling it.
Okay.
I think that's for the most part the criteria. The only other thing that I could think of off the top of my head is, I asked some very loaded questions very beginning with small brands to just make sure that they're not entirely full of shit.
I think that's totally fair.
And that's, you will see me, if you ever see me disengage abruptly from a conversation, that's the moment.
Whatever they said was the moment you picked up on it.
Yeah. So one example, which will always kind of speak out to me, I had a gentleman come and visit a lounge I was running in South Florida. He had a very good story. He had dropped a lot of names. I was able to do a little bit of background work to understand that some of the name drops were real.
Yeah.
But the cigar had a taste component to it that I knew was added.
Okay.
Not tobacco. And so I asked the question, not is it infused, is it all long filler?
Okay.
And he said, of course, I wouldn't make it was a $15 cigar. And he said his words, I wouldn't endeavor to sell a cigar that wasn't long filler. Great. Pocket knife, slice the cigar in half. Short fill tobacco, mixed fill tobacco comes out. And I very politely disinvited him from the lounge in that moment.
There you go.
It goes back to what I was saying about my staff and the way we train here and don't make things up.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best possible answer is, I'm not sure, but I'll find out the answer for you.
Yeah.
Because on the other side of things, the quickest way to make me mad is to try and insult my intelligence.
There you go. All right.
I do that on my own. It's fine.
Well, very cool. Well, Shiah, okay. So for anybody that's watching, listening, that wants to know more about Blend and Barrel, where can they get information?
So our website first, blendandbarrel.com. We made that one as simple as possible.
That's good.
All of our socials are linked there. Our event pages are linked there. It also ties into our e-commerce store. Of course, Facebook and Instagram, it's also Blend and Barrel. We also do what we can locally to be involved with, people like yourselves and other media. So here in town locally, Maduro Aficionado, Cigar TV has their base in Tampa, but they also have a place in Orlando. So we also try and do what we can to be engaged in the conversations there.
Okay.
And then our other footprint, so we have 2 stores, which I should have mentioned far long ago, called The Office. It's our partner locations in Cocoa Beach and Melbourne.
Okay.
They are The Office by Blend and Barrel.
Okay.
So if you're on the East Coast of the state of Florida, the easiest way to get experience and introduced to who we are as a brand is in those 2 locations.
Okay.
And we are a very symbiotic entity. So everything kind of passes through. Our membership advantages translate from one place to the next, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So physically, those 3 footprints as it stands right now is really you can get to know us best.
Okay.
And then in the digital space, we do everything we possibly can to tell you the authentic story.
Very cool. Thank you so much for taking time out. I really appreciate it. And by the way, the cigar, let's talk about the cigar for a moment. I am down to just a little bit left. It's been a really good smoke. It's a very interesting mix of both a mild, easy smoke, but at the same time with a lot of body to it. And you get a little spice on the final third retrohale. Not so much in the beginning. It's there, but it really kind of does ramp up as you go. Very good and very smooth, very nice.
Thank you.
I like it a lot.
Thank you.
And that was again the chairman. Was this one?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. The chairman.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I will tell you very intentionally, I did not ask because I didn't want to. I wanted to hear your authentic But also, generally,
I like
if you
it.
see
I
a
smoked
cigar
it.
that short.
I would
yeah.
say when you're, I mean, and I'm going to try and get it a little shorter too before it's all said and done. Now, okay, real quick. House blends, you have this one that you said is more of your, higher dollar house blend. What are your other house blend cigars that you have?
Okay. So thank you for, yes. So yeah, the Chairman for us is a limited collection, higher aging. Everything that the cigar that you're smoking is a year and a half post roll. Then the Party Favors is our house blend.
Okay.
The way that I personally define a house blend is it should be obtainable for everybody.
Okay.
It should be a cigar that even the most economical cigar consumer can splurge on comfortably, and also a daily driver. So that line for us is called Party Favors. It's very specifically designed to be as simplistic as possible, but also unique in its offering in that the blend breakdown. So it's four lines as it exists right now. They're all Toro sizes.
Okay.
We introduced the line in what was going to be the most user-friendly format. And then we do a Connecticut shade grown in Ecuador, Habano Claro. So I endeavored to make a Habano more like the Habanos of the 90s and the early 2000s versus where we're at today.
Okay.
Not because I have great appreciation for a lot of the Habano cigars that are out today.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there's a good saturation in that space. And I wanted to also deliver a medium-bodied cigar that was refined and subtle and very old school, because we were introduced by Trey, very Aladino-esque.
Yeah.
Perspective. And then we do a dark Sumatra, which is legitimate Indonesian Sumatra. And our Maduro is Brazilian Mata Fino.
Okay.
So each of those four blends were built entirely uniquely. They're entirely ours. We developed them from the ground up with a local manufacturer, Z from Cordoba Morales.
Okay.
Z does a lot of house blend offerings in and around the area, but I have always felt the house blend needs to be entirely proprietary and unique. So we basically wanted to work with him to develop a similarly positioned product that was just for us.
Very cool. Well, the other thing I really like about this.
Oh, and those are $10.
Oh, very good to know. The other thing, one last note on this cigar, it's a little smokestack. For those of you on the YouTube and the Rumble that have been watching, it's been a plume of smoke through here. And I judge cigars based off that. It's a weird little thing. It's not entirely off that, but it is important to me. For whatever reason, when I'm smoking a cigar, I want to know I am smoking a cigar, and I want it to be a little, like I said, a little smokestack. I want to kick off a plume. I want it to linger for a minute, dissipate. But when I set the cigar down, I want it to still kick off some smoke, and I want it to be going. And this one does that, and I appreciate that, because there's some where you're smoking it, and like even when you take a draw and you exhale, it's not that much or whatever, and I don't know. It's a goofy little personal thing, but I love a good smokestack. So
interesting. We're similar that way in that my time in food and wine and spirits, I like chewable.
Yes,
I like
chewy,
heavy wines.
Yep.
I want to roll it around, and I'm the same way with my smoke.
Yeah, I want it to be something chewy. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, man. I do appreciate it, and we're gonna enjoy some more time in the lounge.
Absolutely, Nick. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And I really want to thank Shiah for taking time out of his day to sit and talk with me for so long. He had an event that night, so, I'll be honest, I felt a little bad. I didn't plan on keeping him, quite so long throughout the day, but it was just such a good conversation, and it just kept rolling. So I appreciate him, taking time out of his day and letting the conversation just kind of breathe. All right, guys. Well, it is Friday, which means it's time for a Pinky Fun Fact.
Hey, it's your girl Pinky. Ready for a fun fact? Once a plane is airborne, the captain is your master. In fact, the captain is legally allowed to do all of these things: handcuff people, take the last will of a dying person, and write financial fines. This has been Pinky, and I'll be back next time with more fun facts.
Interesting. So I guess it's kind of like being a boat captain. You can marry people and do all the, stuff as a boat captain. So I guess maybe it's the same concept. Interesting. Well, all right then. So don't get in too much trouble in the sky, or the captain's going to crack the whip on you. So, all right, guys. Well, it is that time to talk about the socials. I'm available on Instagram at The Cigar Pulpit. I am on Facebook, where we have the Pulpit Parishioners group. You can get in on the fun there by going over there and requesting to join, and then, then you're part of the club, and you can share what you're smoking. You can get show updates, all kinds of fun stuff. I'm on Twitter /X. I am, you can watch this on Rumble and YouTube. And then don't forget, I am doing the Wednesday drive time reviews. Those are every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Those are available on Rumble and YouTube and TikTok, actually. And then also, I need your calls. I need your calls for the Ask the Pulpit hotline. You can give me a call on the hotline at area code 863-874-0000. That's 863-874-0000, or tofu pie with no E, 0000. Finally, if you are interested in receiving the Cigar Chronicle newsletter, comes out once a month. I just sent out the March one this week. If you are interested in receiving that, head on over to cigarpulpit.com. A little pop-up box will come up on the screen. You can put your email address in there, and then you'll be all set and ready for next month when in April, that might be one of the weird months where there's two. Because I know that with PCA in there, that may or may not, prompt a second one. So we'll see. But anyway, I don't barrage you. I try to make it entertaining, and, we'll go from there. So otherwise, what other announcements do I have to make? Oh, so this episode is going to drop on Friday, March 27th. Next week, I put a poll up in the Facebook parishioners group, and I asked, if we were to do like a online Zoom virtual herf, what day would be best? And I put out there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because I can usually make one of those nights work. The other nights get a little weird, but those nights I can typically make work. But boy, there was not a clear-cut winner. Thursday and Saturday were almost neck and neck 50-50. Friday was a dog. I think last I saw like 3 or 4 people had voted for that. But Thursday and Saturday were very heavily, on both ends. And so I've been wanting to do this for a little while, but it's super informal. We just get together on Zoom, kind of like how we used to do it back in COVID. For those of you who were smoking cigars and doing stuff back during COVID, we'd get on Zoom and we'd get together and we would just talk. We would just have a social time. It was taking the lounge and putting it at home in Zoom. And so that's really what I want to do. I want to do that again. And so I was trying to figure out what day would be best. And quite frankly, you guys threw me for a loop with the split between Thursday and Saturday, because I have people pleaser tendencies, and I feel bad about the prospect of leaving anybody out. And so for this first round of doing this, I have decided I'm going to do all 3 days, back to back to back. I'm going to do all 3 days. If nobody shows up on it, fuck it, I'll turn it off. But if people show up, then, we sit, we chat, we have a good time, whatever. So with that being said, Thursday, April the 2nd, I will host a Zoom herf. Friday, April the 3rd, I will host a Zoom herf. And Saturday, April the 4th, I will host a Zoom herf. Now, I do realize that this is Easter weekend, and that people may have plans, and they may be busy. I do not intend for this to be a one and out. I don't know how frequently I'll do it. I'm thinking quarterly. I'm not able to commit to monthly, but I think quarterly is an attainable goal. And so I will go ahead and I will host a Zoom herf all 3 nights. And we'll just get together and have fun. I will put the Zoom information on in the Facebook parishioners group. I will also put the Zoom information as best I can. I need to figure out the logistics of doing this on Instagram. So theoretically, if you follow me in the Facebook group or you follow me on Instagram, I will have the Zoom information out and available so that if you wish to join, it's there. I think my plan allows for up to 100 people in a meeting at one time. It would shock the hell out of me if we come close to that on any of these nights. But I guess, weirder things have happened. But anyway, that's what's going to happen. If you can make it, awesome. If for whatever reason you can't, I understand. It's Easter weekend. Don't fret. We'll do this again. I just, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, just get it going. Start it up. So anyway, yeah, that's coming up next week, actually. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, aside from that, I don't really have any news. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon. This has been Nick, and this has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm Nick. It's been a minute since I've done this outro. Everybody stay safe and stay smoky. Oh, and for those of you who are interested in my disgusting science project, I'm up to like 24 butts or something like that in the ashtray. Those of you on the YouTube and Rumble just saw that. It's pretty foul. Anyway, I'm going for 25 and then I'm emptying this thing because I didn't notice the smell before as I was out here before, but then I took my trip and then I'm back and now it's like, oh, it kind of stinks like old ash. Anyway, all right, guys, later.